Today, we become legends.
Season 10 of Smite is just around the corner and we'll likely be getting some official information on it fairly soon, so today I thought I'd share with you my list for Smite's decade anniversary of some things I want to see in the new season. Be sure to drop your own personal wishlist items down below as well. I'd love to see what you guys have in mind for Smite's epic decade update, but without further ado, let's jump in. But quickly before we start, there's a gem sale going on at my Nexus right now and that's going to end in a few days from the release of this video, so if you want to cop some cheap gems, they're up to 33% off in my store right now and I get a little kickback if you buy from there. But back to the video. So first on my list of things I want to see in Season 10 is clans being fleshed out. After being removed in 2020 and added back with almost all the key features removed in 2021, clans are a shell of what they used to be and honestly nothing more than a way to get a clan tag at this point. With Smite's decade anniversary, I think it's a great time to flesh out clans once again by adding back the features it used to have like the clan store, clan chat and honor points, while adding a few new features for their grand return. The clan store doesn't have to be shadow skins and such, it could just be similar to the viewer store where certain skins are available on a rotation for purchase using honor points earned by playing games with your clan. You could even have each clan use a different seed to generate their randomized clan store, so each clan has a unique offering of skins, kind of like how the daily bundles are done. Clan chat is just an obvious one that makes clans the social hub they should be. I have a community clan of 300 nenes, but I can't even really communicate with them. This would be a great way to share experiences, builds, thoughts on the game, and even to alert fellow clan members what's available in the clan store that week. Also, while we're at it, increase the max clan size back to 1000. The initial roadmap for clans stated an early Season 8 launch for the bare bones of clans, with late Season 8 or early Season 9 for new systems and rewards. That never came, and hopefully Season 10 can rectify that. Next up is something I'd love to see, but I'm not sure it will actually happen, and that's a completely new Conquest map. The reason I say this isn't certain to happen is because 1, the current map has been really successful and the iterations made to it over the years have kept it fresh, unlike previous maps that went largely unchanged for most of their 3-year lifespans. I feel like players aren't necessarily bored or burnt out of this map, myself included. I could absolutely play this map for another year with minor changes made in Season 10, but a brand new one will be very hype for Smite's decade. Which brings me into my second point, which is that Conquest maps in the past have gone 3 years before being completely replaced, and we got this most recent map at the start of Season 8, meaning Season 11 will be the normal time for a new one based on past precedent. However, I do feel that Season 10 is going to be a huge event for Smite, and Hyros have already said they're going big on it, so I think it's definitely possible they push forward a new Conquest map to Season 10 for their primary mode. Next up is a controversial one, and that's reworks. I'm bound to piss off at least a few people by even suggesting that there may need a rework, but I think for the overall health of the game it's important to change problematic gods, as long as it's done well. Looking at you, Persephone and Bastet. Some ones I think are on the menu for a rework are Persephone and Bastet, Freya, Hades, Nox, and maybe Skadi. Now, not all of these need to be full-on reworks. In fact, I think only Skadi and maybe Bastet will be ones I would do a full kit major rework on. The rest will be minor reworks to just 2 or 3 abilities. I've made a full video on why Persephone's rework was largely unsuccessful, so I won't go into much detail here, but her new passive is the most boring thing in the entire game. Her ult is still stupid in the way that you can miss it and get really good value still, and her dumbed down 2 isn't great either. Bastet has been reworked a few times already and is still problematic in my opinion. Her jump will always be a source of frustration, I feel. The ult she has right now makes no sense on her, and her 2 and 3 are just a bit boring. And if you're gonna rework the 1 and ult, you may as well change those abilities too to make her a more interesting design. Freya is a similar case in that she's been reworked several times without success. I think my personal favourite design for her was the burst design, and I think with changes they could lean more into her being this magical ADC that doesn't work around attack speed too much, but does huge damage per basic attack and synergizes with items like Polynomicon. Hades just needs minor changes in my opinion, mostly to his 3 to make it a little bit less ridiculous in lane while not nerfing it in teamfights where it's already a mediocre ability. My suggestion is making the 1 or 2 summon Spectre minions like Cerberus' 3 that Hades can detonate using his own 3 to make it better in teamfights. At which point you can nerf the overall damage and healing of the ability to make it less strong in lane. I would also just move Blight into his abilities themselves and give him an actual passive. Nox is one I've also got a dedicated video on and would really like to see the return of a lot of aspects of her old design but with some changes. The idea of her being an anti-mage with some utility aspects is really cool in my opinion and far more interesting than vomit your 2 and 1 on cooldown, which is basically current Nox. And finally, Scaddy could just have so much more done with her, I feel. Make Calder truly a major part of her kit rather than just pressing 2 on someone and watching him do the work. Give him abilities that trigger when Scaddy uses her abilities, and I mean more than just healing him and doing extra damage, like actual abilities. Also, remove the 3 while you're at it and replace it with something less cringe and more synergistic to her kit. On the topic of reworks, I'd also like to see a major overhaul of the item system and potentially a new item tree, though I highly doubt we'd get that given we just got the earring tree in mid-season 9. But a major revamp of the item system is something I'd love to see. Make some of the more basic pile of stats items into more interesting ones with cool effects, similar to the earrings and Arthurian tree. Of course, some items should remain basic, but I do feel the effects on a lot of Smite's items just aren't up to standard, and Hi-Rez have proved that they can make interesting items with the Arthurian and earrings. I don't really have any specific ideas for this, but I'd like to see things shaken up a bit in the item meta as someone who's played with these same items with basically the same stats with minor changes for almost 10 years at this point. If you want to see some of my ideas for cooler items though, I do have a video with 5 custom items, one for each role/class with unique effects that could be added to Smite. I'll link that one down below if you want to watch that. The next wishlist entry is one purely for my own benefit, but that benefit would extend to you guys in the form of better content, and that's an improved spectator mode, match replays, and practice mode features. As someone who spends a ton of time in spectator and jungle practice, the systems there could use some real work in comparison to other multiplayer games of similar stature. Jungle practice is okay and has a lot of what you need, but the ability to spawn any god and have them use abilities, a DPS calculator bot that you can hit and it shows your DPS above its head in real time, free cam, the ability to slow down time, a lot of the other dev features you see the team use on the patch note shows. Of course, some of these features won't be allowed since they might crash the servers or whatever, like you can't have someone spawn 500 ulting Cthulhu's in jungle practice, but with some limitations, I think a lot of extra stuff for testing, theory crafting, and content creation could be added to jungle practice. As for spectator mode, it's kind of a hot mess and could use a lot of the same features I just mentioned, like slow down time, pan camera, cinematic mode that follows players, easier to navigate UI, etc. As well as being able to replay your past matches, even if it's just your most recent 2 or 3 games, I'd take that over nothing. So many games have this feature nowadays, and while I assume server issues are the reason they don't let you, it really should be a thing, if only for your most recent games to gather cinematic footage for video editing, or just watch back your own games and see what went wrong and right. Again, this isn't a feature that's likely to be high on the list over at Titanforge because it only impacts a tiny minority of players and won't make them any money, but I think it's an important feature nonetheless, as content creation is a huge part of the popularity of games nowadays, and giving creators more and better features to create more engaging content will draw more people into the game over time. But that's all I've got for my Season 10 wishlist. Let me know what you think of my suggestions down below and how likely we are to get them. Of course, drop your own entries down below too if you got the time. I'd love to see what you guys want to see added to the game in Smite's decade anniversary update too. But that's it from me. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.